Now he's a little bit moving towards the inside.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the growth going to be for Ed? I mean, because he actually is one of these characters that you feel like should be brought in just because he's got such a good heart and a good soul.
I'm so concerned for him.
Yeah,
Well,
really.
Is he okay?
The first season really was about setting up the world and also like showing like our lives have really changed in the first 2 seasons of the show. We're 30 days only into our storytelling at the end of season 2. So there's basically 7 of us now with Brennan and one other person. There are 9 of us, but there's 7 core people from the pilot.
Yeah.
And the show is about our relationships. It's also we're used to set up the world. Like you're seeing our story through 7 people that happen to live in this and the way the world is now. So every character sort of represents something in the world, like conflict or loyalty, or it sort of represents love. And what we start seeing in the season 2 is that's almost the most dangerous thing that you can have in a fascist regime or under rule, because love is the thing that can be the most easily used against you. And because he loves so deeply, he has to go to places and do things that are exactly the opposite of what he thought he would do in the situation. He didn't think it was possible for him to do these things. We see him sort of sacrifice himself for Frank, because he's not exactly sure that Frank didn't shoot the Crown Prince. He doesn't know. So instead of Frank being killed, Frank and Juliana and his grandfather, the only 3 people he has, the people he loves the most. Were you guys at the panel? You didn't see that. So you see that when I'm arrested and I'm being interrogated, I'm told that not only are they all going to be shot, but everybody in the factory is going to be shot. So that you see through Ed what a person could turn into, or where his mind could start to go if those things were to happen. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, it comes into a lot more this year.
Your character Juliana, is it interesting at the end of it? She had to make a really tough choice. Was you follow through with the plan that she already came in, that she almost doubted. You almost felt like she didn't know what she was really doing, but she made a commitment that she was almost paying back for someone that really almost saved her life. Do you think that's a conflict that's going to pay? I obviously assume in season 2 it's going to be something that's going to either come back to bite her or come back to help her. You know what I mean?
It's just so complicated, but yes, I think. She made a choice at the end of the first season for Joe for a number of reasons. And how are we doing with the Gale wins?
It's like right.
Gale Force wins here. She made a choice at the end of the first season for a number of reasons, but that choice then thus puts her in this situation. She has nowhere to go. She has no choices. This is, she's a hunted creature no matter where she goes. The only place that she hasn't explored is the East Coast, and I think that knowing that yes, that's the lion's den, and yes, she's about to go and swim with sharks, at least she's swimming, and I think that is, she's got an incredible survival skills, but seemingly relentless one. But she gets into that situation, and in order to survive, she has to blend in and become a chameleon and do everything she can to keep her head down, which is similar to what she had to do in the Pacific States, and yet the polar opposite. So it's an interesting thing.
I love that moment in the teaser when you have to or Juliana has to make the choice to be killed or to surrender to the Reich, essentially. That's a pretty dope moment. We don't see.
It's a big spoiler, right? I saw that. Wait a minute. This really jumps ahead.
Yeah.
How far into the season is that?
That's the second episode.
Okay.
Not too bad.
It's actually the very end. They ruined it for me.
That was the finale.
It's the kind of spoiler we can say, I think, because they told us.
And they showed the thing. Yeah, but it's a pretty wild thing to have to do that. And obviously, she.
What is interesting about that interaction is, I remember there was a conversation that he wanted to. Forgot the counterpart. They want to rescue, and it was like John Smith says, absolutely not, kill her. And now, in that spoiler, you're like, wait a minute, this is the guy who said finish her off, and now he's accepting her. And I thought that's why I was like.
But this man, John Smith, is an expert chess player, if you will,
Yes.
and everyone's a pawn. And so Yes, finish her off, but keep your enemies close. And that's John Smith.
Now, of course,
Good at that.
letting Joe go off on the boat into the sunset, or it wasn't setting, but going off was a change from the actual book when she kills him.
Sure.
How do you feel about that? And I mean, obviously, I think it was I like it was an interesting choice, but kind of can you talk a little bit about her character motivation and kind of where that's going to leave her?
Yeah, I mean, I think
as opposed to because the book, her character was in a different place in the
100%. Well, but the character she is in the book is ultimately, we're growing into her. This is the very beginning of the show. And I think it's hard to remember that because so much has happened and it feels like, surely we're at the end of the book by now, but we're nowhere near.
no.
And so that choice with Joe is really just the beginning. So there's, we don't know.
There's time yet for Joe.
There's time for Juliana to who knows what will happen there. And whether the story will go in that direction. That choice, it isn't one or the other.
And Juliana's kind of like she's our central character, and so if she killed Joe, we wouldn't explore the Reich in the same way because they would kill her. Mm-hmm. I mean, you couldn't do that.
Right.
And the book is first of all, if you haven't read the book, it's hard to read, and I read all the time. It's hard to read, but it's non-linear storytelling, and it's sort of like so. It's easier not to have a central character through which the bulk of the story is told, right? But you need it for a television show. So there's just some ways that we've come to learn what to watch television or movies, and you need somebody to root for. And if she would have killed John or Joe, Smith would have killed you, and our show would be a season and a half.
We got a long way to go. But it's interesting how I think, the thing that's interesting about Juliana for me is that she's kind of got this bizarre interconnectivity that is kind of unspoken and hard to explain, but is very palpable. So, every step she takes and every choice she makes, even though it might seem completely mental, it does make sense. She does have a plan. She's not just a dancer with distress. She is very, very clever, but piece by piece.
What do you think Ed and Juliana would do if this were their world? What would they be doing instead of what they're doing in the world of Man in High Castle?
I do wonder, I've thought about this, I've wondered if Ed would be a rich asshole. Because he comes from money. Before they owned munitions, they owned a gun factory.
Oh, yeah?
So I wonder if he would be that generation of post-war sort of rich, entitled, like sort of a baby boomer who thinks they own the world. You know what I mean? I wonder if he would have become like somebody like a Trump or like one of those guys who just me. I mean, all those people were our age in the 80s, during the age of me. But do you know what I mean? But you become who you are. I mean, there is an innate thing, but also you come. There's a lot of environmental things that
we're a product of our environment.
Yeah. So if you grow up in a way where you feel subjugated, you would naturally be sweeter. But you can have sweetness taken out of you by extreme privilege. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about disciplining children the other day. You're teaching those kids need that. If you don't fulfill that need, they're going to become monsters.
Yeah.
And so I've thought about that, what would have happened to him. And maybe he wouldn't have been as sweet. I mean, maybe he would have, but I've thought about it.
Not you.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of me that thinks that Juliana would just be a really simple girl who just was, living her life and falling in love and just, I think there's a part of her that really craves connectivity to human beings, and I think she's constantly being torn apart from the people she loves, and I think, if I could choose for her, I would choose a very complete existence. I have no idea. It's hard to guess.
I imagine the worst thing for an actor is to be pulled into what should be a long-running series, but not being able to have a character that changes in any way whatsoever. Since this takes place in such a condensed time frame, are you at all worried maybe that how my character going to grow as this goes along?
No.
We were told it was 2 weeks per season.
Yeah, it is.
Roughly, yeah.
That's what's happened so
Yeah.
far. We have no idea what's happening next year, or if there is a next year, we don't know. I mean, but they're working on it now. No, I don't worry about that because just looking at who the characters were 2 weeks before
Where we
that,
started.
because everything around us, our environments have completely crumbled around us. Like everything that we knew to be true and the way that things were going to be aren't the same way in the second season. So we're changing a lot. Ed gets
Changing its up.
Ed gets much more of a backbone, and there's his arc this year ends on a pretty heavy note with a pretty tough decision.
So piggybacking off of that, if you guys had to sum up your character motivations going into season 2 and through season 2, how would you do that? What would it be like in a sentence or less? How would you sum up the motivation for season 2?
To live.
Yeah, I was just gonna say survival.
Okay.
Yeah.
To live. I mean, I think that's a very palpable motivation for all of us. These characters. I think we're living in such an extreme world that I think, certainly no one at this table can really fathom what that is. Even playing the part, there's moments where it's like, what is this? What does this actually feel like? This is, it's tremendous. It is terrifying, but I do think it's to live, and I think it's a semblance of dignity and a semblance of self-respect and all these things that you try to maintain in the face of such adversity. Maintaining a sense of self is another thing. I think, you throw us into different environments. If I were to throw you into, the heart of Dubai, or if we throw you into 1927 Paris, chances are you'd be a little bit different in both of those environments. I think that is indicative of what we're doing here, is that we're in these different places, and in order to live, you have to sort of, become one with that world as much as possible. So, yeah.
We're so desensitized to things like every time you look on the news, 12 people killed today in this, and 15 people die in boating accident, and that kind of stuff that we haven't seen this year. I don't think this is too much of a spoiler. Some of our characters witnessed a massacre. And it felt like, it didn't feel like much, honestly, when I read it. And then when I got there, and you see these, I guess, I just told my character season.
You're good.
It had a different weight to it.
Yeah.
Because there were eyeballs and faces and all that stuff that were connected to it. But then I started thinking, wow, under totalitarianism, you can do this. A dictatorship, you could do this. And it did happen. The Khmer Rouge, all these people just you, and you, we're going to kill all you people right now. Or just go kill these people to make everybody else scared. That happened all the time. Each one of those persons is a brother, a sister, a mother, a child. These are all connected to people. So the waves of killing 10, 15 people are, it touches everybody. Somebody knows somebody who's involved with that. Your child was just killed. Now I'm worried about my child. It's the perfect, and it all goes back to, as humans, our strongest motivation is love. I remember once I was sitting in Chicago waiting for my buddy to get off work. And I'm sitting in front of this gym. It's October, so it's dark early, and all these people are on these treadmills, facing the street, running, and they all look miserable. And I was like, why are you doing this? And I was like, because you want to stay alive long enough to suck up as much love as you can. That's why you do everything. You brush your teeth so they don't fall out, so you can be healthy, so you can be loved. It's all sort of that thing. And that's our to love and to be loved are our strongest motivations. And smart people know how to use it against you. And they'll make you do anything.
Juliana, one of Juliana's great character moments or relationships was with Nagomi. Am I saying Nagomi?
Nagomi.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's been a while. That was one of the really special things about your character, and now you have a different set of, I don't want to say loyalties, but certainly needs and circumstances. Are we going to still be able to have? See, I can already tell you're going to say this isn't spoiler territory.
I can't tell you anything.
So he's got his own thing going on, separate from Juliana. Well, that's good to hear. Actually, that's
awesome.
a good answer.
Yeah, and that kind of piggybacks what I was gonna. You had talked about her connectivity, and one of the things that she really feels interconnected with a lot of things. But in that same way, I think that because she feels that way, people tend to be drawn to her. the characters fall into her orbit and care for her, for various reasons. Even people who you don't necessarily think would care about her. I mean, Joe comes to care for her against his better, judgment. And now she's going to be interacting with John Smith and maybe seeing his family. We don't know that. Obviously, that's a spoiler, so you can't tell me.
No, we don't know.
But
we don't know.
we've already seen some of his humanity. Do you think that her inner, her belief that everything's connected going to, affect that aspect too, and their interactions together?
Yes. I mean, I want to answer that in a very elaborate way that I can't at all. Yes, short answer. I think Juliana really wants to see the good in people. She wants to, and yet she knows that there's, the other, so to speak. But in the same way, I think, we all have so many different facets to who we are, depending on what we have to survive and what we put through. I think the more she experiences, the more she lives through, those things do start to penetrate. So this element of, I will find the truth and I will seek and seek and seek until I find that kind of beautiful wonder in her in the beginning has shifted from then into necessity to now it's different for her. She's aware of so many more things. She's seen so much more.
We don't know who we are until we're tested, though, do we? And how could we know ourselves until we're tested?
Exactly. Yeah.